What's poppin', beautiful people up in YouTube lane? I put the 3G value, feel me? In this vid right here, 10 wrestlers you never knew wore a mask. More specifically, WWE. I don't know why I didn't say that, but I saw Bailey in the picture. I didn't know she wore a mask. Maybe in NXT before she became the huggable one. But let's check it out. Let's check it out. I know dude. I know he had a mask before when he's part of the cult.
Well, the gimmick a wrestler initially
Braun
debuts
Strowman.
is usually the gimmick they go on to be known for.
Strowman is the Universal Champion, dominating Goldberg here tonight.
For instance, Glenn Jacobs is
Oh yeah, he was the
well known for
dentist.
playing an evil dentist, and Dwayne Johnson isn't best well known for
Rocky
portraying
Maivia.
white babyface Rocky Maivia.
I said Maivia.
A lot of
Maivia.
wrestlers over the years have debuted in a mask and would wear a mask.
I mesmed him Spanish.
Established career before going on to find great success in new characters and will thankfully leave that mask behind. Now, whilst we know that talents like Hulk Hogan,
Hulk
John
Hogan had
Cena,
mask.
and The Miz all wore masks during their wrestling
John Cena wore a mask? And the Miz? What?
career, there are 10 WWE wrestlers you never knew actually wore a mask. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists.
Fairly reminiscent of one Andre the
Andre wore a mask too?
famous wrestler. Mr. Steven, it's only one time. This is a time.
Number 1, Eddie Guerrero. A New Japan Pro Wrestling in the early
Eddie Guerrero wore a
90s
mask?
for smaller wrestlers to go and show off their talents if the big two North American companies, those being WWE and WCW, weren't interested in them due to their size. Half a dozen legendary talents such as Chris Jericho, Chris
Like
Benoit,
Chris
and
Jericho,
Eddie Guerrero took this route to the top. The latter used his position in New Japan Pro Wrestling to stand out and show off his moveset before he was then quickly signed up to ECW and then later on WCW. Eddie would go on to become one of the biggest names.
R.I.P. His birthday just passed too.
Even win the WWE
Would have been
title in
53.
2004.
Viva la raza.
Beginnings using a character called Black Tiger 2 in Japan, as the gimmick involved him wearing a black and gold mask, meaning that the mannerisms that Eddie would go on to become famous for were completely hidden. Number 2, Bray Wyatt.
I mean, we know that, but he wore a mask before this because, I mean, anything before this, I know is not topping this mask. Bro, he got by far the best mask. Top 5 best masks all time. Top 5. Top 5, top 5, top 5.
Before Bray
Dylon,
Wyatt
Dylon, Dylon.
beamed and wore a clown mask to the ring, he would actually wear a white Phantom of the Opera style mask during a period in NXT in 2013.
Witness the new face of fear. Frightening. Quiet.
I wasn't watching NXT at that time, so.
It was worn for all of Bray's matches, and he would even wear it when conducting promos with the Wyatt family. Now, the mask in question was extremely similar to the one that The Undertaker wore in '95 when he legitimately
remember that.
broke his orbital bone.
Okay, look at it. Look at it. Oh! That is ghastly looking. What kind of appliance is that?
WWE fans
So what kind of
were
appliance is
confused by
that?
the addition to
You know
Bray's
what it is, then you
attire,
made
and
it.
Several fans tweeted Bray and asked him why the mask was now being worn. Bray would actually respond to one fan with a tweet saying, "Broken nose. That is all. Once the nose was healed, Bray would never wear the mask on WWE television ever again." Number 3, Alberto Del Rio. Alberto
I
Del
heard
Rio had
it,
a decent enough WWE run, with multiple world title reigns and even a Royal Rumble win under his belt.
Alberto Del Rio is on his way to the main event at Wrestlemania.
It was actually his career in Mexico that truly put him on the map and made him a lucrative talent for WWE to sign.
It was an amazing night. My father, Los Caras, is here. All this incredible audience.
Del Rio is a second-generation wrestler, as his father was Dos Caros, who was one of the most famous luchador wrestlers of all time, and his granddad was Mil Mascares, who was so famous and respected.
Oh wow, he got a huge heritage. I didn't even know that.
He did everything. He's the first Mexican who ever wrestled Madison Square Garden. He's
Wow.
the first Mexican who ever wrestled in Japan or as a superstar in the United States.
During Del Rio's time in Mexico, he would wrestle under the name Dos Caras Jr. as a tribute and would wear a mask and attire similar to that of his father. Once Del Rio signed with WWE, the mask was completely gone, and he would only wear the mask on special occasions, for instance, WWE live events, which took place in Mexico. Number 4. Bayley.
Yeah, this
Before
one threw
Bayley
me for a
debuted
loop.
on NXT as the lovable hugger, she would have another NXT gimmick in the form of a luchador. She would wrestle on NXT live events under a black mask, and not much was known about the character other than the fact that she was the only woman in WWE at the time wearing a mask of any kind. Bayley would often admit that she often had desires to wrestle in Mexico as a luchador, so that's likely where the origin of the gimmick comes from. However, the gimmick wouldn't last too long as Bayley would shortly
Ain't
debut on
Bailey
NXT
Spanish?
TV with the hugger character and would go on to become one of the most popular female wrestlers of all time.
I like her heel. I like her being heel. It's dope. But I know she's gonna be
Number
babyface
5.
soon.
Chris
They're gonna put her back.
Benoit. Before Chris Benoit would go on to be well established as one of the greatest technical wrestlers of all time, he had a run in New Japan
Chris
Pro Wrestling.
All right, I'm yours. I'm here to learn. Mold me.
That jersey was so fire to me back in the day.
Benoit would spend a year training in the New Japan Dojo, which allowed younger wrestlers like Benoit to improve and learn the discipline it requires to succeed in wrestling. Benoit would make his New Japan Pro Wrestling debut in '86 as the Pegasus Kid and would wear a traditional blue lucha libre mask. Benoit would often
Fire.
state that he initially hated the character and the mask before he eventually got used to it.
I couldn't breathe. It felt like someone put a straitjacket over my head. Really, it's like very oh my god. I just felt claustrophobic.
He look mad cool though.
Over
I'm
the
not gonna
next
hold
few
you.
years, Benoit would become one of the best wrestlers in the world before eventually signing with WCW in the summer of '92. Number 6. AJ Styles. Former WWE champion AJ Styles actually made his wrestling debut in a mask. During a 2017 interview with Bayley and Southside, AJ revealed, "I did my first match ever. I was Mr. Olympia. I wore a mask and wore my old singlet that I took from my college, turned it inside out, and wore wrestling shoes. I looked absolutely ridiculous. In my next match, I didn't have a name, and everybody always called me AJ anyway, so I stuck with AJ." Now, even though the mask element of AJ's character would quickly disappear, he did in fact wear a mask in WWE on more than one occasion. During matches at a Japanese house show in 2017,
I like when
he
he
would
do
wear
that.
a black and white mask, which was
They
similar to
don't
the one
want
he wore
none.
in Japan Pro Wrestling years prior. The mask received a lot of attention online, with fans suggesting it could become a permanent fixture of AJ's attire, but unfortunately it would be retired again following the Japanese live events. Number 7. Chris Jericho.
Ooh,
It's
that
very
mask
rare
is
for
fire.
a
That was his
top
mask.
wrestling talent to change characters completely during their peak. However, this was the case in '97 when Jericho was in the midst of his successful WCW run and decided to make his debut in New Japan Pro Wrestling under the persona of Super Liger.
Bodysuit was made of like really thick spandex, like a scuba outfit. So I could hardly move. I felt like I was like in a body cast or something like that. And plus, you're in Tokyo Dome, 70,000 people, first time in New Japan, first time wearing a mask. I was so nervous.
Super Liger would be a masked character who would be the arch
That mask is tight fire. I'm not even gonna hold you.
nemesis of the legendary Jushin Thunder Liger. Liger would wrestle Koji Kanemoto at Wrestling World '97, and the match was so poorly received by fans and wrestling critics that the gimmick was immediately dropped and would never be mentioned again. The match itself featured Super Liger botching every other move as he had trouble seeing through the mask.
I was working this match, and the first thing I tried to do was jump to the top rope or something, and I slipped and I fell straight down and just like wiped out, crashed, and everybody in the Tokyo Dome started laughing.
For the next couple of months, Jericho worked unmasked and reverted back to the Chris Jericho persona, going back to WCW in 1998. Number 8. Ric Flair.
That's my guy, Chris Jericho. Wait, Ric Flair. Did me talking like, wait, that shit do me for a little. Ric Flair wore a mask? What?
Flair is without question one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. However, what many fans forgot is that Flair actually competed as the Black Scorpion for a short period.
Dave, I see you're losing control. Where's your confidence?
In 1990, WCW featured a feud between Sting and a mysterious new masked character who went under the name of the Black Scorpion. The Black Scorpion character was portrayed by Al Perez at the start of the feud, but that was until Perez quit the company, meaning WCW had to quickly find a reliable replacement. The replacement would be Ric Flair, and the storyline quickly became a complicated, illogical fiasco. This is a little bit strange.
I definitely wasn't watching WCW at this time. I was watching when Sting had the the crow get up.
Sting won and unmasked the Black Scorpion to reveal Ric Flair. We got 30 seconds! It's Ric Flair! The Black Scorpion is Ric Flair! The angle went down as one of the worst in WCW history and one of the worst storylines in the respective careers of both men. Number 9, The Undertaker. Now, before The Undertaker was cementing a legendary career in the WWE, he portrayed a rather bizarre masked character called the Punisher. The origin of the character was from the
I never knew he had this get up, bro. Never. I knew about the WCW Undertaker when he used his actual real name, Mark Calloway, but what? This one is definitely through for a loop.
Early days when he was going between the gimmicks of the Master of Pain and the Punisher. The Punisher gimmick was literally Mark Calloway
You're like
in
a stripper.
Mask. Looked very cheap and wasn't necessarily going to light the world on fire. Even though the gimmick was poor, The Undertaker would win the WCWA World title under the character in 1989, would even wrestle the likes of Jerry Lawler and Stone Cold Steve Austin under the name.
So you were coming in, and all of a sudden I found out I'm working with the Punisher. Of course, I'd heard about you, and I'd seen you.
Cause I heard about you.
Austin shared a story about the first time he met The Undertaker under the Punisher persona.
Crazy thing, I seen this podcast too.
2016. He stated, I was the guy who was just new to Tennessee. I'd just driven in. I was working babyface and I was trying to find someone to ride with. I was talking with The Undertaker. I guess he was the Punisher. And so we were going to ride together, but since he was heel and I was baby, we had to kayfabe, so we didn't ride together. And number 10, Biggie.
Yeah, I know Biggie had a mask.
Long before Biggie was a member of the beloved New Day faction, he portrayed a much more serious character in FCW and then later NXT.
It was supposed to be a heel gimmick. It was supposed to be something that got booed 1, 2, 3, and I would look at the rest. And then the 5 count. I count the 4 and the 5.
The character would be a silent killer who would win matches with the count of 5 rather than a traditional 3 count, possibly a homage to King Kong Bundy. Now, at one stage during his FCW run, Biggie would wear a blue mask. Now, it's pretty unclear why Biggie wore the strange mask and what purpose it served, as it just looked like a blue version of a Killer Bee's mask.
Ew.
The only reason
these masks trash.
is from an image that surfaced on Reddit of Biggie wearing the mask a few years ago. Obviously, Biggie and the WWE didn't think the mask matched the character, as it was only used on seemingly one occasion. But there you have it, guys. 10 WWE.
Nah, that mask was horrible. That's probably top 5 words besides the Undertaker Punisher one. Undertaker looked like a stripper, bro. Like, I'm gonna hold you. But yo, I'm not gonna hold you. About 70, nah, I'm gonna hold you. 80% of this, I did not know half of these people wore masks, bro. This was very informal. I didn't know half of these people wore masks, bro. Especially with Ric Flair. I'm like, what? But yeah, bro. And Bailey. I'm like, what? Nah, but this video was fire. This video was fire. But it's your boy G, and I'm out of here. Peace.